So last month I bought this ThinkPad T460s for just 75 euros. It was a pretty good deal, but it came BIOS locked, which I had to fix first. But on paper it's pretty basic. It has an Intel i5 6th gen, only 4GB of RAM right now since I'm using the other stick in another laptop, and a 250GB SSD. And I wanted to see if I could turn this into a budget MacBook by installing macOS, and spoiler, it works better than expected. So in this video we will find out if it was genius or a total mistake. So before macOS can even think about booting on your ThinkPad, you need something called an EFI folder. And if you never heard of that before, don't worry. You can think of it like the bridge between the hardware and macOS. And without it, nothing boots. That EFI folder includes things like drivers, patches and configuration files. And normally building one from scratch is honestly a pain. And that's why I decided to try a tool called Opencore Simplify. Opencore Simplify generates an EFI folder automatically based on your hardware specs, without of you having to manually build everything, which is perfect honestly. But while using the tool, I ran into my first problem. So the tool refused to build the EFI because of my SSD. The NVMe drive in this ThinkPad just wasn't supported. At first I thought I could work around it by using an external SSD. So I pressed enter and it just exited. So yeah, that didn't work. So I went on the internet hoping that someone posted his EFI configuration that was made for my ThinkPad model. And honestly, I got really lucky, because someone had already shared a full UEFI folder made specifically for this ThinkPad T460s. And there was even a GitHub repository explaining what everything does. So huge credit to the repository or to whoever made it, because they saved me a ton of time. So I followed their instructions, set everything up and moved on to the next step. The EFI folder was not enough though, since I still needed the actual operating system. And I decided to go with macOS Ventura, and I know it's not the newest version, but it was fully supported for this setup. And honestly, at this point I didn't care about running the latest macOS, I just wanted to see macOS running on a ThinkPad. But if you want me to try installing macOS Tahoe, let me know. And now after having both the EFI and the operating system recovery files on a USB stick, it was time to boot into the stick. The first boot didn't look that promising. After some time, the Apple logo finally appeared, but then right after that, it just randomly restarted. And after a few tries, I enabled verbose mode, which basically shows you what's happening behind the scenes. And that's where I saw that some things weren't loading correctly. So I went back into Windows to check the files, and I got a message saying that some of the files were damaged, even though I just copied them. So yeah, thanks Windows. And after fixing that, I tried it again and it got further, but it still didn't work. So this time I got another error, and after asking ChatGPT about it, since I hadn't really known about the error, it told me that it was because of my unsupported SSD. So that NVMe drive was really the problem. So I removed it, I tried again, and this time it finally worked. And once the drive was formatted properly, macOS finally started installing. So as you can see, we're finally in the setup screen, and yeah, let's set up this ThinkPad or ThinkPad with macOS and see if it works just flawlessly. So yeah, I finally got into the macOS, but as you can see, yeah, it looks like the drivers didn't load. User had the same issues. Oh, okay, so it just works. So it also recognized the internal graphics with the 2 GB of VRAM, so everything should be okay now. Let's test some apps to see if it actually works. Right off the bat, I noticed when I move the tabs a bit like this, so a bit faster, it like starts flickering. And I don't know if this is normal or not. I don't think it's normal. But okay, so I just found out that people are having these issues as well, and the issue is the graphics card, so the integrated graphics card, which is not really supported, and people say that the fix is to disable the hardware acceleration. I won't do that now, but I think that would have been the fix. Let's see if the Wi-Fi works, because I seen beforehand that the Wi-Fi didn't work in installation, and I had to use my LAN cable for it to actually install. But yeah, I can see now that things are not appearing, because normally here it should show the networks, right? Okay, so it shows the Wi-Fi networks. I just don't know why it didn't show here. Because on my MacBook, when I press on the Wi-Fi icon, it shows a list. Let's see how the apps work on the MacBook or on the ThinkPad. So let's open Maps to see if that works. Okay, the maps seem to work perfectly fine. Let's see another app. Let's open Notes. Notes also seems to work perfectly fine. Yeah, so the MacBook works perfectly fine. Honestly, I don't really know what to test further, but if you guys know some apps, or if you want me to try some apps, write it down in the comments and I will test them. But yeah, for a laptop that only has 4 GB of RAM installed into the system, it actually runs pretty well.